messed up already. We are here tonight on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, specifically the Three Fires Confederacy, which includes the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations. And prior to the mid-17th century, this land was also occupied by the Huron-Wendat Nation. Our current local bands are the Chippewa Tribe Council, which is made up of the Beausoleil First Nation, Georgina Island First Nation, and Rama First Nation. And we are grateful for the opportunity to gather on this land. May we truly honor the spirit of reconciliation and restitution. My name is Alyssa Wright, and on behalf of Engage Barrie, thank you for coming. We weren't sure how many people were coming, so I'm really glad to see that you are all out here tonight and taking an active part in municipal politics. Thank you also to the candidates who have joined us. We have 7 of the 8 here tonight: Anne Marie Kungle, Devin Scully, Jerry Marshall, Kelly Patterson-McGrath, Skip a chair, Ram Fairber, and Stephen Chichelski. Oh, I did it wrong. Sizelski, I apologize. And Tanya Sari. And I am joined here by our panel of moderators. Some of them you may know already: Shannon Murray, Madeline Gillies, and Rob Romanek. We are going to get Rob to tell us a little bit about the goings-on.
Thank you. So just wanted to give everybody a brief overview of sort of our rules of engagement for this evening. Also, this meeting is going to be recorded. Transcripts of the meeting will be made publicly available on our website. Candidates will be identified with their responses. We have distributed index cards and pens so audience members can enter questions. We will not be identifying who the questions came from. So basically, with the index cards, if you have any questions that come up while we're debating, they're presenting, please write down your questions, and they'll be collected at approximately 7:45. Questions will then be reviewed to avoid duplication, and we will ask as many questions as we have time after the candidates have presented their initial round of answers to the moderator questions. Candidates are focused on their ideas and solutions for Ward 3 in the City of Barrie. They may present arguments why other ideas may not be as effective, but personal attacks will not be tolerated. All topics of discussion should be municipally focused, both from candidates and audience members. Moderators may choose to revoke questions or comments that they determine are outside of municipal interests. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to introduce themselves. Then there'll be 6 questions asked in turn by the moderators, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. We're hoping that we can try to keep tight to that minute because there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of candidates. As you see, the candidates have been very respectful. There's no materials or banners that they've presented around the building, which we appreciate. However, we did tell them that after our session's done, there's a table at the back, so if they have any material that they want, banners, brochures that they want to put out there, so you can collect. And we'll also encourage you to have any discussion or questions personally after they're done as well too. Okay, candidates may not direct questions at each other. Please just answer the question that's been asked. The moderator will be presenting a 30-second and 10-second warning. And okay, that's right. And also, in the interest of time, we ask that any comments or applause from the audience be kept until the end of the event. The one final thing that I'm going to ask is the use of cell phones and mobile devices. We understand that some people in the audience will want to take notes, and so it's fine, but please make sure your devices are muted so they're not going off. Of the candidates, we understand you may want to use them for reference when you're doing your opening comments or closing comments, but we ask outside of that you keep your devices down so it's not distracting while your fellow candidates are answering questions. And with that, I think we're ready to go. Would you like to ask the first question?
I would. Are they not introducing themselves?
Oh, yes. Thanks, Alyssa.
We did a draw from, am I on?
No.
We did, no. there I am. We did a draw from the hat, so it was a fairly random start, and the lucky person to give us our first minute and a half introduction is Jerry Marshall.
Gosh, I don't want to go first. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. My name is Jerry Marshall. Excuse me. I had a granddaughter, and she's gracious enough to pass along a little bit of a cold for me. Anyway, some of you folks know me as my role as the Simcoe County Warden and the Mayor of Penetanguishene. My wife and I moved down to Barrie after I didn't run for election or re-election in 2018. We moved down to Barrie to be a little closer to our kids and family, and hadn't really considered getting back into politics at that time when I first didn't run for re-election. But I've been out of the political world long enough to know that I'd like to be back in it. I really miss it. I enjoy the seat at the table. I enjoy being part of the broader conversation. I enjoy being part of the team trying to make their communities better. From a personal background, I started as a pole climbing lineman with McLean Hunter, which became Rogers Cable TV. Over the course of my telecom career, I ended up Vice President of Operations with Rogers, managing budgets in the neighborhood of $200 to $300 million and staff complements of 600 to 700 employees. So during the course of that time, you would have thought my wife and I were in the witness protection program. We actually moved 29 times while I was with Rogers from Midland and Penetanguishene to Kitchener to Cambridge, and looking at my wife to Ottawa to Vancouver. So we've had a great experience and living in different communities and enjoying that and bring that experience to the table. So I look at the leadership I can bring to the table, look at my political experience, and enjoy being here tonight, enjoy the conversation with my fellow candidates. So thank you for coming out.
Thanks, Jerry. The lucky number 2, one seat next to you, Devin Scully.
Hi, I'm Devin Scully. I want to say thank you to the organizers of tonight's event for putting it on, and thank you to my fellow candidates for putting your name forward on the ballot. It takes a lot of gusto to do that, and I commend each of you for it. I wanted to take a minute of my introduction to say how happy I am that even with a crowded field of candidates, this has been a race about the issues and about ideas without any of the nasty mudslinging that's really tearing apart the fabric of our democracy. And again, thank you for that. I've been proud to call Barrie home since I moved here just over 3 years ago. There's nowhere better to lay your roots and build a life. I've been fortunate since I left university and that I've been able to be largely self-employed, and having that flexibility has allowed me to follow other passions, including serving the public good. The organizers of tonight's event have asked the candidates to disclose any potential conflicts of interest, and while I currently have none with any business before council, I'm not going to speculate about what business may come before council down the line where potential conflicts could arise. I'm excited by the momentum I've built on this campaign, and I'm excited to serve Ward 3. We have our challenges, like anywhere else, but we are truly the envy of Barrie in Ward 3, and I don't want to see this great part of town backslide due to risky or expensive decision-making that's not good for our community. We need a steady hand at City Hall to keep things moving forward, and I'm ready to go to bat for you. Thank you.
5 seconds to spare. Now, I made a comment earlier that I swear we were doing this randomly, but we are apparently going next down the row for number 3. So, the left side is the happy winner, Anne-Marie Pungle.
Good evening, everyone. My pleasure being here, and my compliments to a local community group that took the initiative to bring us together tonight, because municipal politics is important, and these types of gatherings and opportunities to get to know the candidates are quite special around, otherwise they wouldn't happen. I'm pleased to speak with any of you after as well. A bit about myself. I've lived in Barrie 16 years. Joe and I chose to call Barrie home because it exhibited the small town feel that I grew up with and gave us great access to services we care about. My background in education is in public health, and I've been working across the health system at different levels of government and locally for about 19 years. What I did about 2 years ago was I left my job to have more flexibility and actually get involved in moving healthy public policy into how communities are designed and built and bring people together. So I started a consulting job in healthcare, and that's been quite successful for me. And it's allowed me to work with community not-for-profits. So over the past couple of years, I've also had the good fortune of being on the executive council with the Barrie East End Household Association. We put in a community garden. We're doing some great work with connecting individuals across the community. And from there, thank you, Alyssa. And from there, enjoy spending more volunteer time as the board chair of the Alzheimer's Society. I'm on the YMCA and inform the HBRN community plan that I hope to get adopted across the city. That's a lovely ending.
Isn't it pretty? Next, we go to the other side of the table. Whoops, it's still beeping, sorry. Stop! Technology and I. Ram Faber is up next.
Hello everyone. Congratulations to Black History Month and congratulations to the Raptors on a 15-game winning streak. They give hope and joy to a lot of people and businesses in Ward 3. My name is Ram Faber. I ran for mayor twice. I was born in Guyana and I have a certificate in mechanical engineering technician. My wife and I have lived in Ward 3 for almost 19 years. We have been married for almost 30 years. Our children were the first kids to attend Terry Fox Elementary School. We have 4 children, Samantha, Matthew, Amanda, and Michael, a daughter-in-law, Brittany, and 2 grandchildren, Phoenix and Grayson. I own and operate an electronic recycling business, carpet sales and installation business in Barrie. I have single-handedly diverted more waste away from landfill than any one person in Ontario. All I'm asking from you tonight is to give me a chance in this election to serve as your next Ward 3 councillor. Please note, municipal elections are not party politics. It is the only time you truly have a chance to elect someone who will make a direct impact on what goes on in your neighborhood and in your community. Barrie has declared a climate emergency. I will declare a property tax, affordable housing, transit, better paying jobs, mental health and drug addiction emergency if elected. Thank you. Vote Ram Faber for your next Ward 3 councillor and your voice will be heard. Thanks.
You guys are also great at sticking to the time. Thank you so much. Next, we are going in order again to Steve Soselsky, please.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for coming this evening. Thank the moderators and the people from Engage Barrie, for putting on this meeting tonight. And to the people who have taken their time to come this evening, we really appreciate it. And of course to my fellow running mates as well. My name is Stephen Soselsky. A lot of people have problems with my last name, so I go with Stephen James a lot. I am running for Ward 3 councillor in our lovely city of Barrie. I've lived in Ward 3 now. I have been a resident of Barrie for over 25 years. I've raised a family here in Barrie. I've had my own business for 20 years fundraising. And I look forward, to my retirement here in Barrie as well. I find right now is the perfect time in my life to put the energy into working for you as a councillor. Being in remission from now a 3-year-old tough battle with cancer, I can now find the time to really work with my constituents. What also qualifies me to serve you on council is my vast experience being involved with many local charities, including on the board of directors of Crime Stoppers, numerous charities with the Barrie Lions Club, Kinsman Club, Big Brothers, and many more. I've received a certificate of recognition from Mayor Jeff Lehman as well for my volunteer and betterment of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to jump over to Kelly Patterson-McGrath next. Oh, you were so used to it being in order.
Yeah, that's true, right? Okay, there we go. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'd like to thank Engage Barrie as well and the moderators for putting on this event tonight, and thank you for everybody coming as well. I've lived in Barrie in Ward 3 for 27 years. I'm semi-retired and self-employed. I'm passionate about our community and our beautiful city. I am a big fan, and I share that with everyone I meet, and I am an enthusiastic participant in everything the city has to offer. Representing you is about listening to your ideas, concerns, and taking action. It's about compassion for all of our citizens It's about taking care of our environment, ensuring our seniors, kids, and grandkids have a safe and healthy place to live, work, and play. I have over 30 years experience in management, teaching, strategic planning, and leadership. I have successfully launched 2 small business ventures. I can manage budgets, read a balance sheet, not my favorite thing in the world, but I can do it, and see the big picture and how all the pieces fit together. I have seen firsthand the challenges our community faces as a Barrie Police Auxiliary Officer. I bring a strong, smart, experienced businesswoman's perspective to the table. I'm collaborative, not combative. We won't always agree, but I will actively listen to what you say and learn from it. I am here to stay to help Barrie grow successfully and sustainably into the future while making the best environmental choices for our planet and our home, the city of Barrie. Thank you.
You guys are so great to them second. All right, surprise. Next up is Tanya Sari.
Excellent, Jerry. I don't know if going first is the worst or going last is the worst. I'm not sure. Anyways, I also would like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I have some supporters in the audience, and I appreciate that. And I'd like to thank Engage Barrie because during the 2018 municipal election, we didn't have the pleasure of having one of these, so it's really nice that we have this, as well as the panel ahead of you, because I know we all would prefer to be outdoor knocking right now. So, my name is Tanya Sari. I have been a resident of Barrie for 15 years. My husband and I have lived in several towns and cities in Ontario, as well as coast to coast. We've been on the West Coast and the East Coast, but planted our roots here 15 years ago, and had the pleasure of raising our 3 children here, and it's been my favorite city to live in by far. Used to be the big city to come to when I was a kid growing up in Port Elgin. I currently am a real estate agent with Century 21, so my office is located on Bayfield Street. I also have a 10-year banking background with CIBC, with lots of things ranging from account management up to mutual fund sales, so I have some finance as well. I had the pleasure of running in the 2018 municipal election and came in second. It was one of the most exhilarating and exhausting experiences of my life, but I'm proud and pleased to be back here doing it again. I've always been community involved, whether it's through volunteering or through fundraising. Redwood Park Communities, Gilda's Club, Alzheimer's Society. I like to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Barrie from an intensification perspective for my job, and my time is up, so thank you very much. Thank you. It's a red card. It's a red card.
A red card, I know. I feel bad for putting it up. Just so you guys know, we did do more random things for the others, but when the first person came up to be first a second time, we switched it around, so it's not always going to be the same one. But now we can turn it over to our moderators.
It's my turn now. Okay. So my first question. Understanding that there is a homelessness and addiction crisis in the city of Barrie, what services would you support to protect our most vulnerable citizens? Does this include a supervised consumption site?
And the first person to answer this will be Steve Sosowski, please.
I'm definitely in favor of a safe consumption site. I think every city that grows right now does have that problem. I believe the site at Mulcaster was a perfect location for the site. It's not right downtown, but it's close to downtown that people need it the most. We don't want to have needles lying around downtown Barrie. I think, or people overdosing as well. I'm definitely in favor of a safe consumption site. It's got to be done sooner than later. As our population grows, so does the problems with the population as well. So I'm definitely in favor of the site. Thank you.
Next up is Jerry Marshall, please.
Thank you. Certainly in favor of the consumption site. I think that the consumption site's a necessity to help those that are having such struggles in their lives. And the reality of the situation is you have to have that consumption site close to where the people in need to have that service. So you can't relocate it where they're not. You have to be close to help people in need and be there with them. So certainly I support that. in terms of the, in all the measures and all the security and all the safety items that have to come with having a consumption site have to be put in place as well. So certainly wouldn't go without thinking our way through the entire conversation. In terms of affordable housing and homelessness, certainly, as a big fan, those who know me from the county know that I'm a big champion of affordable housing. Certainly, Lucy's Place was the direct result of my engagement with Mayor Jeff Lehman at the time. And really I think I got time, so my wife, who's in the audience with us, likes to buy those shows where you buy and flip homes, and she said, why couldn't we find some place that's derelict that needs to be retrofitted and actually turn those into home and housing opportunities? And that's exactly what we did.
All right. Next up, please, is Devin Scully.
Let me be clear. I want people to be able to get the help they need to get better, and I like the idea of a safe consumption site. But if we as a city are going to put our endorsement on an application being sent to the provincial government, we need to make sure that the information is complete, correct, and that the application is being sent on time, as well that the application moving forward will be a benefit to the entire community. For that reason, I would have to wait until we do have more complete information before I could support the site as it is currently proposed. As far as housing, we are facing a housing crisis, and everyone deserves to have a safe roof over their head. As councillor, I will continue to support the creation of more affordable units in the city of Barrie, as well as more units in general. When we're in a housing shortage, we need more housing, period.
Sorry, you were too fast. I didn't get the mic on that time. Next up, Tanya, sorry, please.
Was it last this time? A safe consumption site, I'll start with that one. I'm definitely in support of a safe consumption site. I think at this point we all know it's a necessity. We are in an opioid crisis. I think we need to look at more wraparound services, stronger addictions counseling, and I think we have to actually reach out to provincial and federal government to help assist us with achieving those goals. But a safe consumption site is definitely required, as Stephen mentioned, sooner than later. As far as affordable housing is concerned, it's a huge issue here in the city of Barrie, and I hear it every day. We have great programs. We have community builders. We have Redwood Park communities who are promoting second suites. And these are the type of people that we need, or the type of resources that we need to draw from to assist us in making these things happen. So both of those things are extremely high on my priority list for sure.
I was not anticipating you guys being quicker than the time limit. Okay. Next up, Ram Fairber, please.
A lot of us don't understand what the safe consumption site really is all about. I personally, and I would fight really hard not to have a safe consumption site in Barrie. Supervised drug consumption sites have resulted in an increase in crime and disorder in the surrounding area and have a negative effect on communities. There are many other ways to deal with this problem. I mean, none of us have the opportunity to go into a safe consumption site and see what's going on in there. Think about you going in there, watching other people injecting themselves, passing out with drugs, and you're watching them. There are other ways to do it. There are a lot of people who can't handle it. Supervisors are themselves becoming a victim of these experience. Affordable housing. Affordable housing.
I'm afraid that was
okay.
the time. Next up, Anne-Marie Kimball, please.
Thank you, and I want to be clear. We have an amazing amount of information. We have fact-based information provided to us by experts working in this region who are medical professionals that have put together a 4 to 5 pillar strategy. You can find it. Harm reduction is a core pillar. You can find it on preventod.ca. This is about saving lives. The delay that's happening at a municipal level, I think, is unacceptable. I'm disappointed to see that, because if we follow the process, it gets approved at the provincial level. There is absolutely no reason we should be supporting $50,000 for more review and considerations. Like any project, when you implement, you work with partners, you put together councils, and you share good information, you continue to look at opportunities to improve. I'm a full supporter of a safe consumption site. and would happy to continue the work I've been doing with Jeff on some shift government initiatives to end homelessness.
And last but not least, Kelly Patterson-McGrath.
Hi, yes, I absolutely do support safe consumption sites. We need to support our vulnerable. We need to be compassionate. We need to have the services on the site that support their recovery, that support their mental health, and that support their livelihood. I am a big supporter of this. I realize that it's out again for other options for sites, which is too bad. Hopefully that will come back soon and we can make a decision and move forward real quickly. Affordable housing, I really support the affordable housing initiatives that Redwood Park Communities has put forth with Lucy's Place. The City of Barrie has an affordable housing strategy. It was created in 2015. By 2024, we are supposed to have 840 affordable units, so let's hope we do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To our next question.
What does culture mean to you, and how will you ensure that arts and culture remain a priority for the City of Barrie?
And the first to answer that question is Devin Scully, please.
Culture is the very fabric of being in our city. It's the arts scene, it's the music scene, it's what makes Barrie, Barrie. It's what makes Barrie a community that people from the GTA want to move to. It's the reason that we have such a great city right now. And quite frankly, I think we do need to support the arts in our city, be it through more incentives to have local artists doing quality work on display in the city, having more music coming out of our city, supporting our local artists through policy, through budget, and ensuring that nobody's being left behind.
Thank you. Next, Jerry Marshall, please.
Thank you. One of the things that we have to do with culture is actually separate it from the tourism portfolio. For the longest time, we marketed our cities in tourism and we included culture within that basket. And really, you have to step it out of the basket. It has to stand on its own and be recognized for what it is. And as Devin said, it's arts and it's music and it's the vibrancy of our communities. It's different than tourism. Tourism is coming to a festival or enjoying our waterfront. Culture is something different. Culture is something that we take hold of as a community and take pride in, and it's our own, and we want to share that with other communities. So, if on council, I certainly look to the City of Hamilton. They've done a great job of driving culture. I'd say they're probably one of the leading ones in Canada, if not in North America, of getting that culture statement out there, that culture vibrancy, having it recognized properly, funded properly, and delivering it out in a manner that people understand why it's different, why it's distinct, so why it needs to be there. Thank you.
Up next, we're going in order again. Kelly Patterson-McGrath, please.
Thank you. What does culture and arts mean to me in this city? I really enjoy attending the McLaren Art Gallery and seeing what new displays they have on. We have an amazing community in Barrie when it comes to culture and arts, whether it's the Kempenfeld community players, the theater groups that I love going to see, Talk is Free Theater, the great committee that put together the outdoor art exhibits that we have in our community. What a wonderful group of people that they're very passionate and very knowledgeable, and having those pieces in our community for tourists to come and see, whether it's the Spirit Catcher, I think it's wonderful, and I think Barrie really needs to step up and keep doing that and keep supporting the arts and culture in our community. I love it.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to continue down the line. Ram Fairber, please.
I think culture is very important for the city of Barrie. We are a very diverse city, becoming more and more diverse. Each community have their own way of celebrating their culture. It shouldn't be a burden on taxpayers to support culture in Barrie. We have seen it at the McLaren Arts Centre. It's costing taxpayers thousands of dollars, millions of dollars per year, and it still needs more funding. We should stop that, and we should encourage each community to do more for themselves. Thanks.
Up next, Anne-Marie, you can go, please.
I'm a big supporter of arts and culture. I personally support the Huronese Symphony Orchestra and enjoy finding space or walking into businesses downtown where you've got local artists. I've tried my hand at drumming, I'm not that good, so I've become a spectator. But what I believe are some of the gems that sometimes we forget about or don't recognize is that we have a Barrie Arts Committee. And if you watched council the other night, there was a beautiful deputation by a representative there. And without the context that she provided, we probably wouldn't appreciate that we have a low budget committee that we need to empower to continue to make great decisions. We've hosted and supported and funded a poet laureate. These are things that we should protect, celebrate, and include. And so I think we're doing a great job. There's always room to do better, and let's showcase it at our events and activities across the city.
Thank you. Steve Sosowski, please.
I'm a very huge supporter of arts and in Barrie. It's something that I've been very affiliated with over 20 years. I have been in the business of promoting musical entertainment, and Barrie needs a good venue to draw people in, to draw the major acts in. I'm hoping the Fisher Auditorium, the renovations there will be money well spent, and having a first-class establishment where we can be proud to bring in top-name entertainment, to the city of Barrie. And like I said, as the city of Barrie grows, so does the population's interest. We don't want them to go to Toronto to see a great band. We want them to stay in Barrie. So that's our number one promotion, is to get a first-class venue here so we can host these different acts. Thank you.
Perfect timing. And I should have changed the order to make not the same person go last as well. I apologize. I will check the list for the next ones. Finally, Tanya, sorry.
That's okay. I guess the problem with going last is that I'm going to repeat a lot of what everybody else up here has already said. Culture and arts is an extremely important part of the city of Barrie. I enjoy that they have now put art pieces in, down at City Hall in the rotunda that you're able to go and walk and look at it. The McLaren Arts Centre does some amazing things, and I would be lying if I said that I was aware of all the stuff they did until very recently, again at City Hall, at Council, when the McLaren Arts Centre did a presentation during budget talks. I had no idea how much that the McLaren Arts Centre did within the city, and you really should look at it if you haven't, because there are a lot of amazing programs that they offer there. We have 5 Points Theatre now that offers a lot of opportunities to see some different things. I've attended events there. So it's very important, and it is the foundation for the city, and I think it's extremely important to support. Thanks.
10 seconds to spare. All right, back to our panel.
Okay, this question is related to climate. In light of the city's recent declaration of a climate crisis and plans to ban single-use plastic, what are some concrete actions council can take to reduce our contribution to the crisis?
And we're starting this time with Kelly Patterson.
It's a big issue, and we need to address it. One of the things that I talk about when we need to look at how we can each individually impact climate change is we can start small with the little things and empower people and act as a leader in taking these things to task. We can look at how we manage our parks. We can look at how we can use our parks as making them more user-friendly, but also to start to naturalize them. Use the naturalization so we don't have to maintain them, so we don't have to use our 2-cycle equipment, so we don't have to use a lot of staff to manage our parks. Planting more trees is one of the key things that we need to be able to do in our city in order to help combat climate change.
Thank you, and now we are back to Tanya, sorry. It was random, I swear.
It goes so fast. So I think the question was regarding single-use plastics. Can you repeat it?
Sorry, I will pause you.
Quick repeat. In light of the recent declaration of climate crisis and plans to ban single-use plastics, what are some concrete actions council can take to reduce our contribution to the crisis?
Okay, all right, so first, I was gonna address single-use plastics, because I was really excited to be at council the night they talked about reducing single-use plastics. I know it's not gonna be an easy task, because I think that one of the major issues was the plastic water balls that we use at events down at Campin Fest and at any city-used facility. So I know it's a challenge, but I think we all have to take part and participate and try to reduce the use of single-use plastics for sure. I agree with Kelly completely. I think there's things we can do immediately, like the planting of trees and additional green space. I believe the building that's being put up at 5 Points actually has a rooftop green space. These are things we need to look to for the future to help get rid of emissions. So I guess I'm going to stop because I think that's it.
Thank you. To Ram Fairburn next, please.
Declaring a climate emergency in Barrie is a waste of time. Canada produces less than 2% of the world carbon emission. What we need to do in Barrie, after they decided to call a climate emergency, they have decided to ban the plastic straw or single-use plastic. There are tons and tons of other type of plastic that are going to the landfill every day. Plastic picnic chairs and tables, kids' toys, even the blue bins that we use as recyclable bins are not recyclable. All these things ends up in the landfill. What we need to declare an emergency is property taxes, affordable housing, mental health, and opioid crisis. Those are some of the things that we need to declare emergencies on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to Jerry Marshall, please.
Thank you. I think it was a great move by City Council to actually declare that emergency. I think we need to send, as municipal leaders and communities, send out the right message to not only our own residents, but to our neighboring municipalities and people who are paying attention to the conversation across Ontario, Canada, and North America. Beyond the plastics, I mean, we need to look at our transit routes, so extend transit so more people can ride in transits instead of taking their own cars. More bike paths would help out. Taking our fleet of vehicles at the City of Barrie and getting them off gas fuel and making them more hybrid or energy efficient type of consumption, so we power them on electricity or whatever the opportunity is. Look at our new facilities and make them net zero as we build new facilities. And net zero means that facility is putting back into the hydro grid as much as it's taking off, so we end up with a zero situation. Passive complexes for our municipal employees. So a lot of things we can do as we think our way through. And as I often say, you need to think long before you think short. So let's see where we want to be 30 years from now and plan to get there.
Next to Steve Sosky, please.
I'm too very glad that council did declare a climate emergency. I think everybody has to help. It starts at home with carpooling, turning your thermostat down in the winter and up in the summer, taking more public transportation, and also, of course, planting more trees in some of the new subdivisions that we're going to be having. All city vehicles definitely should be hybrid, and there's different ways of getting on the buses. There's some cities out west that are actually having an on-demand system for their bus travel, and the bus travel has gone up 300%, and also the 30% has been eliminated from driving. So that's a great idea if we can incorporate something like that as well. But I do believe it does start at home with carpooling and controlling your temperatures and your garbage. Thank you.
aligns with my personal values. I do a lot of volunteer work with the Traditional Conservancy. I'm connected to Barrie, Nature Barrie, and have done some work around looking at invasive species. So for me, this is how I walk in the world around it being an area that I ask questions about. I had the pleasure of speaking with Margaret Crawford with the Simcoe County Greenbelt Coalition recently on opportunities for us to be extremely effective. I've looked at our plans, they've been applauded. We had physicians presenting to council around climate solutions. When we talk about trees, we have extensive networks and parks. We should be looking at mature tree development and a strategy, but more than that, criteria that's firm with some non-negotiables about looking at development and the whole lifespan from actual construction to how we use it, and making sure that there are targets around reductions of emissions across that whole lifespan. I don't think we can compromise our wetlands, and I don't think we can compromise really making sure that there are firm parameters around supporting reduced emissions. Thank you. Chimed out.
Sorry. And last but not least, Devin Scully, please.
Thank you. Climate change is real. I'm encouraged by the changes that will see the City of Barrie stop using single-use plastics at city events and facilities. And I support private businesses making their own decision to move away from single-use plastics as well. That being said, I don't believe it is the place of government to tell a small business operator what packaging they can use or what straws they're allowed to use, but I do encourage those changes. I also support increasing infrastructure for electric vehicles in the City of Barrie. More and more consumers are turning to electric or plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and the market is really shifting that way. Every month we're seeing more and more manufacturers releasing their newest EVs, and that's very encouraging as well. But as that market changes, we need to make sure that Barrie is EV friendly and is somewhere that EV owners will want to buy and use an EV. Thank you.
I just have to say, I love you guys. I have done things like this before where I've had to practically tackle people to stop them talking. So thank you for being respectful of our time limits here. Madeline?
Understanding the concept of induced demand, how would you direct a shift towards sustainable transportation in our quickly growing city? I know we already touched on some of this subject, so bring it back.
And our first, no, I'm looking at the wrong one. My apologies. Our first speaker on this will be Ram Faber, please.
A traffic gridlock. Traffic gridlock. How do we avoid having the same problem we are having at the south end, at the 400 and Mapleview? Ward 3 is a growing ward. There are a lot of new businesses coming in, and the population are increasing because of new condos. We must find ways to avoid and build infrastructure to move traffic along in order to reduce carbon emission. Also, with transit, we need to move people around a lot faster by either having smaller bus sizes, more routes, more frequently. Thanks.
Next to Jerry Marshall, please.
If I just clarify the question, did you say do increase demand? Was that the?
Induced demand.
Induced
Okay,
demand.
thank you. Thank you. I just want to make sure it's clear on it. In terms of transit and traffic congestion, a couple things we need to look at for sure is to continue to work with the County of Simcoe, for instance, on that links program. From my position as a county warden, with Mayor Lehman and city staff to get that transit link created between the two communities so that people from our community can get out and people from outlying communities come into the city of Barrie. So we need to expand that transit route wherever we can, continue that linkage because we are the center of the hub here in the County of Simcoe. Most people are coming to Barrie, so we need to look at that transit link and how we get our residents out of our community if they need to get out and how we get people into our community without bringing in their cars. So we want to invest in that. We want to invest in transit deeper into our municipalities as well. The further out we can go, the more carpooling creations that we can make and stops we can make are much needed. And I can tell you, when we launched this in the city of Penetanguishene, we didn't have bus stops. We actually had a flag down system. If you were anywhere in the route, you waved your hand. If you want to get off, you waved your hand. So make it easy, make it friendly.
To Kelly Patterson McGrath next, please.
Thank you. Sustainable transportation, I believe it starts with building complete and accessible communities so we can walk, ride, or roll. We spend less time in vehicles. We electrify our transportation systems. So we are using less gas and more electrical and solar. This saves on tax dollars and road infrastructure. If we get more people using their own transport, whether it's walking, biking, rolling, getting the roads connected so we don't have to go very far to get what we need in our life. Whether it's through our grocery shopping, whether we're going to the store, we want to have walkable, sustainable, supportable communities. And that's how we can help our sustainable transportation systems. Thank you.
To Devin Scully next, please. Oh, sorry, I cut you mid-sip.
As an up-and-coming, world-class city, it is important that we have a strong and reliable public transit system. I will support changes to transit lines to make them more accessible and more convenient for riders, and I will actively push for better bus stops, both in terms of shelter and maintenance. I will also advocate for a big change to our transfer system and propose a move to a 2-hour multi-directional transfer. A single mom shouldn't have to pay twice to take the bus to the grocery store, and a senior shouldn't have to pay twice to take the bus to the dentist. It is time Barrie moves to the front of the pack on transit. As for active transportation, it is important that we recognize that most people in Barrie will continue commuting with their cars, and we have to make sure that we're balancing the safety of those who take advantage of active transportation with those who drive their cars to and from work every day, be it by separating bike lanes from live lanes with even reflective plastic posts or concrete barriers where able, to make sure everybody is safe. Thank you.
Thanks. To Tanya Sari next, please.
Thank you. I think this is a good one because we've heard pretty much everything I was going to say already with as far as transit goes. I love the Links program. I'm very excited that Barrie does the Links program between Angus and Elmvale and even Collingwood. It gives people the opportunity. A lot of people aren't aware of that, so I think making people more aware that this takes place is a key mover, because I have spoken to several people who didn't know that this was an option. One thing about the busing system here, I would love to see, I know it's an ever-evolving city and it's ever-changing, I would love to see some improvements to the busing system. My nephew actually had to take a bus from my house to the south end of town to go to work. It was an hour and 40 minutes for him to get there. So that's a significant amount of time to add to the day. I know we've made improvements, but we are going to have to consistently, as we grow, look at making improvements to the busing system. So that's a key thing, I think, as well. What else did I write down here? And I think just mimicking what Kelly said. So everything Kelly said about that's what I was going to say.
Ditto is a valid answer. Next to Anne-Marie Fungal, please.
It's a pretty exciting time when we're seeing municipalities getting really switched on to this. So Vancouver's just identified this all-on-board approach, and they're looking at accessible transit being affordable and on a sliding scale, and reducing wait times around getting transit. And they see that not just as part of like increasing ridership, but also about part of the fabric of community and affordability and safety. And so I'd like to see us really look at initiatives that drive ridership. We have a commitment to go emissions free, but we're also seeing other commitments by communities that I think can create incentives for us to push this forward. And with that, some of it is also complete streets and looking at our timelines. So again, around waiting half an hour for a bus, that bus potentially not having the accessibility needs. I've met with patients that have to pay $20 for a taxi to the hospital and then another $20 back because they would otherwise miss appointments. So I think we need to think about transit and access and ridership a little bit differently and around how it becomes part of an inclusive community.
Sorry to cut you off. I don't know. Finally, to Steve Sosowski, please.
I think this comes from personal experience as well. We need to really improve our handicapped transit. You're only allowed right now to book a week in advance, and myself, I was very handicapped for a while, and still am with the cancer that I am in remission. But when I was using the handicapped transit, I would call in a week before, and every single time would be not available. So there's more and more demand for the seniors and the handicapped to definitely increase our service. Also, I was saying before about the on-demand bus service on non-peak times. That definitely does increase ridership as well and stop people from taking their cars at the same time. And carpooling and bicycle paths throughout the city are another major factor in helping people not taking their cars.
Thank you. Just before we go to the next question, you all saw the index cards on your seat. If any of the questions that have been up here have inspired you to ask some more, they might end up being a repeat, but we have our two lovely volunteers. Trudy and Adam will be collecting them. If you can hand them into the center, they'll compile them, see which are duplicates, which are already being covered, and we'll get to them after two more questions from our moderators. Back to our moderators.
What do you believe are the 3 highest cost services to the city, and what would you do to mitigate them and help alleviate tax burdens?
Sorry, I'm multitasking badly. We are starting this with Tanya. Sorry, please. Sorry.
Can you repeat it again? I just want to feel part of it.
What do you believe are the 3 highest cost services to the city, and what would you do to mitigate them and help alleviate tax burdens?
That's 1 minute, eh? Where do you start that? I think our highest cost services are unfortunately our emergency services, our policing, our ambulatory services. I wouldn't say I would want to mitigate those. I don't think we can make cuts to those important services because that will have a huge impact on us. I think the more thing we have to take into consideration is that as a city we really need to look at every line of the budget when we're looking at things to see where we can find funds to take from to go somewhere else. I know taxes is a huge issue that comes up at the doors, and people are not impressed that we keep raising property taxes, but it's tough because you can't cut services because we all depend greatly on what we've got. So I think more importantly, we just need to look at every line in the budget and see where we can make cost savings as opposed to cutting anything.
Next to Devin Scully, please.
Look, the biggest line items in our budget are some of our most vital. We're not going to make cuts to our emergency services, to our police, to our infrastructure. That's not realistic. But we have had 6 straight years of major tax increases. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand the need for tax dollars to support vital services in our community. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we should have a 0% tax increase. In a growing city, I don't think that's realistic. But when seniors are struggling to make ends meet and working class families are struggling to get by, we need to look at how we're spending our tax dollars and make sure we're doing it with respect to the taxpayer and really look to ensure that we're not being wasteful. There are a lot of things at City Hall where it may not be the biggest line item, but it's wasteful. And we need to make sure that we're not having duplication of services, that we're not wasting money on frivolous ventures, and that we're ultimately being responsible with taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Next to Ram Fairburn, please.
Public service workers in Barrie have just got a recent increase of 5.2% wage increase. Subsidies. The city are subsidizing too many things in Barrie. Also, they're giving breaks to developers and are not collecting enough of the development charges or permit fees, which is costing taxpayers a lot of money. Also, the city is in debt by almost $330 million. And if we do find a way to reduce those debts, which is costing the city $33 million per year to service that debt. So we must stop giving subsidies and collect 100% from wherever we can to pay that debt down so we can reduce our repayment.
Whoops. To Jerry Marshall next, please.
Thank you. I agree. I mean, it's tough to answer this question, but at the end of the day, it is right. It's emergency services. Police, fire, and ambulance are driving costs in every municipality. And so what we need to do is maybe pause and think about how that can be different. One of the reasons they're expensive is, dispatch sends three vehicles to your house in an emergency. And the reason for that is there's different dispatch centers. So the 911 call comes in, fire sends their guys, the ambulance sends their guys, and we send police. So if we had one quarterback, one dispatch system that picked the right team, the right vehicle, the right person at the right time, we'd only send one, but it would be the right one. Should we be thinking about fire medics? So instead of a paramedic and a fireman, should that be a joint opportunity? Should we scratch that itch and find out if that makes sense? And if you think about it, should we have an emergency services department? Rather than have a police chief and a fire chief and an ambulance emergency center chief, should we not have one general manager that drives all three emergency services and get some efficiencies there? So we need to look at it differently, in my opinion.
To Kelly Patterson McGrath next, please.
Thank you. I think we can all agree that the three highest cost services to the city would be emergency services, as everybody else has said. It's a little challenging to try to reduce the cost and mitigate the cost as we grow. The population of Barrie is growing exponentially, and these services and the costs are only going to increase. I think we also need to look at our own house inside our city and how we run it, and what kind of efficiencies that we can find and save dollars, tax dollars there at our city hall. Empowering people to take a look at the amount of money they're spending and the staffing, and what does that really look like? We really need to take a step back and see what that looks like. Emergency services is a tough one to cut, and it's really tough to mitigate when we need those services all the time. Thank you.
To Steve Sosowski next, please.
I too don't recommend that we cut any taxes or any funds to police services or emergency services, especially with the growing needs of a growing community. That would be the wrong way to go. I think we do sometimes waste a lot of time, at the municipal level and doing things that aren't a top priority, and that's one thing that we can work on as well. But there's housing for homeless as well, but those things and mental health, they are becoming more and more common right now, and I think there needs more tax dollars to go to that. So I do believe it's a real tough go to reduce what do we have to pay for our major expenses in the city. Thank you.
And finally to Anne Marie Hume.
When I think about the three highest costs, for me, the emergency services are essential services. So if we invested in prevention, health promotion, we probably wouldn't see the same degree of pressure. So if I think about driving costs that we see no benefit from, are ones where we're putting Band-Aid solutions on old road repair and infrastructure. We have an amazing network of infrastructure that we continually put in patchwork Band-Aid effects. This costs us, and it doesn't support It's money going out and nothing coming back. When I think about emergency services, what's coming back is the health and wellness of our community and the benefit of people. The two pieces that I also think are other major expenses are the hidden expenses that sometimes we don't see or talk about much, which is our debt ratio. And as we invest in infrastructure dollars and the gap to building new developments and having occupancy where we're going to see revenue means that we're compounding our interest on money that we borrow. And so for me, the highest cost are things that I think we're going to start to see around what it's going to take to develop.
Thank you. And to our final panelist question before we get to the audience questions.
Historically, Barrie has built single-story detached homes and has the highest per capita percentage of homeowners. How do you think this has affected the development of our city, and what should be done to address this to provide affordable and supportive housing?
Ooh, you just answered, but it's Anne-Marie.
We got this. A couple pieces come to mind around second suites. So we've seen City of Barrie incentivize individuals to do renovations. We're also seeing part of the Shift Government Initiative. There's a couple of really inspiring and innovative initiatives happening. One of them was recently in the paper not too long ago around connecting individuals over the age of 55 with students. And so when we're looking at housing options and affordability, I think we need to get creative in a range of housing stock that's protected and look at where we can build up and not out on those options and protect the rates. And I think some of that is about how do we create opportunities where we've got majority of homes that are empty or empty basements and doing that in a safe and affordable way.
Thank you. Next to Steve Sosowski, please.
With the average home right now in Barrie at $500,000, it's impossible for a lot of young people to come to Barrie and buy a home. That's why we need more incentives to developers to develop cheaper housing, to have condos, to have townhouses that are a lot affordable for the first-time home buyers. We're not going to attract anybody in Barrie to try to purchase a $500,000 home. It's just not going to happen. So we really need more families in our city, and that will have more taxes paid as well. But definitely, I think we need to give some incentives to the developers. Instead of buying, like I said, purchasing just one house, you can put 3 or 4 townhouses on that same land and make it more affordable for a lot of people.
Next to Barrie Marshall, please.
Thank you. It's a great question. Affordability is a huge challenge, as I think everybody knows. I think we need to be creative. We need to look at that housing stock that's out there. And as a municipality, if we have a spot where we want to have a 3-story walk-up or 4-story walk-up, then how do we incent a developer to develop on that property? And so we need to look at that land that the municipality owns as well. Is any of that land, not really worthwhile to the municipality? Can that be kicked into the kitty to actually work with the developer to create some housing that's attainable and affordable for people? So you need to look at that. You look at the city of Surrey, one of the challenges they had, and they were like the city of Barrie, had huge high rent rates. What they did is new subdivisions for a period of time. Every new subdivision had to have an in-law suite in the basement. Every one. The people owning the house didn't have to rent it out, but every home had to have the capability of having that in-law suite inside that new home. Well, that was fair for the people moving into that subdivision because they knew there'd be basement apartments in there. So when you bought in an area where you knew that was occurring, they dropped their rents by about 35% just with that one strategy. Bold, but it worked.
Next to Devin Scully, please.
Like I've said earlier tonight, Barrie has a housing crisis. We have a housing shortage, and the only way to solve a housing shortage is to build more housing. That means more high-rises, more single-detached, more towns, more units in general is how you solve a housing crisis. And that means opening it up. We've already got some great intensification corridors all along the city. We've got areas, we've got nodes near our GO stations where development is not only allowed, it's encouraged. We need to be building up where we can, we need to build out where we can, we need to densify where we can, and ultimately, we need to build enough units that we're getting ourselves out of that shortage, help get that rent rate down, and make sure that everybody has a safe roof over their head. Thank you.
Thank you. To Tanya Sari next, please.
I agree with a lot that's been said here as well. Second suites and third suites is going to help ease the stress of the housing crisis. Just wanted to touch on what I haven't heard anybody mention yet, is that we do have an aging population, and it's come up several times in this campaign with people who feel that they don't have appropriate housing for the aging population as well as accessible housing. So I think those are two key important things that we're missing. Second suites, third suites would be helpful, but I think purpose-built housing for that demographic. We have 36,000 senior citizens living in the city of Barrie, and I know personally, people want to downsize, but they don't have anywhere to go, and they're not ready to go to a condominium yet. And I think if we had something, Collingwood does a great job with Georgian Village, I believe it's called, where it's bungalows for seniors. You know, it's building out and not up, but we need to build the purpose-built housing to move things. If those people can move to something that accommodates them, that opens up the real estate for everybody else.
Right on the dot. Next to Kelly Patterson McGrath, please.
Whatever she said. Thank you. One of the things we need to do, again, kind of thinking outside the box, and we really need to get more partnerships with developers and incent affordable housing developers that come into the city. Barrie does have an affordable housing plan that they created in 2015. I think we need to update it and address it and to see where we're going with it. They decided that 840 units was going to be enough by 2020 or 2024. So I'd like to see where that stands. I don't know where it stands, but I'd like to see it, but I don't think it's enough. The other thing that Barrie does right now too is ask developers to set aside 10% of what they build for affordable housing. I also don't think that's enough. I think it should be 20%, and I think it should be built in right at the bottom line. So if you want to come in and build, then you need to include our affordable housing pieces to that, so people can afford to live here in Barrie, whether it's the seniors or whether it's people just starting out or vulnerable people as well. Thank you.
On the dot as well. And finishing this question with Ram Faber.
Affordable housing kept coming up all night. We have a situation where property taxes in Barrie have increased since 2001 by an average of 3.4%. We're talking about the highest rate of property taxes and affordable housing. It does not go together. If your taxes goes up and you're a landlord, what do? You raise your rent, you pass it on to the tenants. If you're a business owner, what do? You raise the cost of everything, you pass it on to the consumers. So we need to keep property taxes low. I would propose a 2% property tax for each municipal election cycle, at the beginning of each municipal election cycle. So that would be a 0.5% increase yearly. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to, we've got a lot of great questions here. I don't know how you guys are going to decide. Although we do have the nice problem of actually getting through that ahead of schedule. Again, thank you guys so much for being respectful. I'm just going to give them a little bit of time to talk amongst themselves and decide which to ask. Sarah, I was going to ask you to do this afterwards, but to give them time, could I get you to take off your button, please? I'll just tell you a little bit about Engage Barrie. We were recently formed to create an equitable community, to mobilize and empower people, and to build an engaged local democracy. And we're so happy to see you guys are joining us on that. I'd like to invite Sarah Elfelman to talk to you for a moment. She's got the Walk Before You Run workshops, which fits in quite a bit with what our goals with Engage Barrie are, so we thought we'd give her a moment. A very quick moment.
Yes, I know. Being told I have
But a moment
one minute, so I'll try and make this quick. This is a series of workshops that we'll be running throughout the spring at the downtown library for sure, and across Simcoe County as well. It's called Learn to Walk Before You Run. It's sponsored by the County of Simcoe, the Ethnic Mosaic Alliance, and the Library Cooperatives. Our target audience is women from immigrant backgrounds and or diverse backgrounds. And our goal is to get them to see themselves as potential leaders within their community, and long-term goal, even potentially being up here on this panel. So if you are interested, if you know of anyone who might be interested in developing some leadership skills so that they can start to participate and make a difference in their community, please pick up one of these brochures. I'll leave them at the back. As I said, our target is immigrant women. However, that does not exclude anyone. So if there's a man out there even who's interested in learning more about that, you're certainly welcome. So that's all I have to say.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as she mentioned, there will be flyers at the back table as you leave. We also have a sign-up sheet if you would like to find out more about Engage Barrie or how you can get involved. Please sign up. We promise not to sell your mailing list to anyone else. It's just for our newsletters. There will be no Ginsu knives sold. Are you guys ready with your first question? Again, thank you guys so much. I was skimming through as I was flipping around cards, and there are some great questions in there, so thank you.
So we'll just start going through these. Obviously, we will not be able to get through all of them. Again, I encourage you to reach out to the individual candidates afterwards if your question wasn't answered here, and talk to them about your concerns. First question is, do you have any political party affiliations, and have you accepted any financial or equity support from a political party in this by-election?
Okay, and we will start, which list was I on? I apologize. We are starting with Tanya, sorry, please.
Political party affiliations? No. And did I accept any financials from anybody? I did not. I got donations, a couple from friends, but for the most part, I'm funding this campaign on my own. Well, and my husband, but he doesn't know that till now.
I'm sure Rob turned off the live feed for that part of the answer. Next to Kelly Patterson McGrath, please.
No.
I didn't even have to set the timer. Steve and James Soselsky, please.
No, same answer, 100%. I've been doing any campaign expenses has been on my own, and there's no party affiliations whatsoever as well.
You guys are speedy. Ram Fairber, please.
No, I haven't accepted any donation, and I'm not going to. I have no party affiliation, and I have a budget of $500 to spend on this election. Thank you.
I should just stop setting the timer. Anne-Marie Congo, please.
Absolutely not. I'll just say I'm quite passionate and vocal about protecting municipal to be nonpartisan, and I hope people do regard it that way.
Next to Dennis Scully, please.
It's no secret I'm actively involved with the Conservative Party, and I'm not going to sit here and be ashamed of that. At the end of the day, though, decisions made at the council table, they're independent of party politics. They have to be what's right for the ward and right for the city, and partisan affiliation has nothing to do with that. As far as contributions, absolutely. I've received well over 25, maybe 30 donations, ranging in size from $5 to over $500, and if people want to donate and have their voice heard that way, I'm all for that.
And finally, Jerry Marshall, please.
Similar to Devin, no surprise, I actually ran in the last election as a Liberal, so I'm a card-carrying Liberal, have been for quite some time. Having said that, municipal politics is nonpartisan, so If you think about the county warden that sat in front of 32 mayors and deputy mayors, and some were Green Party, some were NDP, some were Conservatives, some were Liberals, and some didn't care about any party. You know, but that group of 32, despite all those disparaging points of view and political beliefs maybe at the federal and provincial levels, made many great decisions, and that's what happens at the council table. It's not partisan, it's actually about working with a group of people, having your voice heard, and when you sit at that table, it really is about listening. You need to listen to hear what your fellow council members are saying, because if you sit there with a predetermined opinion, and you sit there just to wait to speak, you're not going to get the full value of actually being part of a full council that's looking at an issue from several different ways. So, non-partisan all the way. Thank you very much.
I got everyone right. Yes, okay. It went so fast.
Lightning round.
Didn't know I skipped some of that. Next question.
Okay. Do you believe recreation and sporting programs should be subsidized by the city or be fully paid for by the users? Should children have access to affordable programs?
And this round we are starting with Kelly Patterson, please.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Do you believe recreation and sporting programs should be subsidized by the city or be fully paid for by the users? Should children have access to affordable programs?
Yes, absolutely, children should have access to affordable programs. And I do believe that the city can put that into their budget to help people if they want to have access to recreation programs. I think it's important for several reasons. One of them is building a safe and healthy community. If we have active participants in our community, we are healthier. If we give them subsidies to be able to participate in our community, they are happier. They are connected, our seniors are connected, and they're building community, and they are building relationships. So yes, I do believe we can and we should. Thank you.
Next to Anne-Marie Google.
Yes, thank you. I do believe physical activity should be supported around supporting a vibrant and healthy network, and I hope to see that come out of some of the work happening with the Healthy Barrie project. I think when we look at that, and Barrie does an amazing job around creating opportunities, the hockey rinks, we're even seeing outdoor activities and a lot of engagement. I think for me it's also not just the cost, but accessibility. So can we get kids there? And we also have a lot of partnerships in the community that can help to subsidize. So I think some of it's also making sure that resources like Service Barrie and staff at the city know how to help redirect and navigate individuals to partner agencies that support physical activity and subsidized access.
Thank you. To Rim Fairburn next, please.
I've said it earlier, but subsidies from the city, city bailing out everyone, and we're in so much debt, and people are hurting in the city. People are hurting in Ward 3, people are hurting, kids are hurting, families are hurting. We have seen an increase at the food banks. We have seen an increase of homelessness. I think Barrie should get out of the subsidies business, and the provincial government should subsidize this type of situation instead of municipalities. Yes, we do, if there are families who need help, we should find ways of helping them as a community, not by subsidies through taxpayers' dollars. Thank you.
Next to Tanya Sari, please.
My short answer, yes, I do think we should help subsidize recreational and sporting programs. I think every child deserves the opportunity to participate in recreational and sports programs. As Kelly mentioned, it's healthy, it's good for them. I think there's a lot of creative ways we could do that. You could have a sponsorship program. You could ask the city for subsidies. I know, just going outside of the box, Canadian Tire Jumpstart offers a lot of subsidy for children to participate in sporting programs. So those are some things that people should be aware of. And it comes down to offering an affordable option for families who might not be able to participate otherwise. Absolutely, we should be helping them.
Next to Devin Scully, please.
Having safe and healthy communities is so important. And, you know, it's simple. Those who can afford to pay for recreation and kids' sports should pay. And those who can't should absolutely have some help from the city. There are lots of ways that we can help, and subsidizing those programs for kids and families that can't afford it is absolutely a step that we should take. Thank you.
Next to Jerry Marshall, please.
Thank you. As with most of the table, I certainly agree with getting our youth and our children involved in our communities in any way, shape, or form we can. If that includes subsidies, then I'm on side with that. But having said that, there's ways to subsidize without, draining the tax dollars. So for instance, if we have a city program, it's a swimming program, or a soccer program, it's run by city staff and it's run by the city itself, then there's nothing stopping us from having that class size filled with those who maybe have an income challenge, so their children couldn't actually participate. So you get those who can pay into that program at 100%, and then you have maybe 5 or 10 spots for families that can't afford that. And you have people like, the name escapes me now, running children's programs that can actually vet families and their incomes to verify that, yes, this family meets the criteria to get some assistance. So take those programs that we're running as the city, make sure we leverage that to its maximum to help those that need a helping hand out.
Thank you, and to Steve Suski.
I don't think no child in today's society should be denied access, from any kind of youth program, especially with the way the kids are today with their cell phones being in the basement, 20 hours a day. We definitely need the kids to be interactive with each other and be out playing sports, getting exercise. If they can't afford it, then the city should subsidize the kids for it. Thank you.
Our next question.
Do you have further political aspirations beyond our municipality?
This is starting with Tanya Sari, please.
Goodness, no. That's my short answer. I have just an interest in municipal politics. I am passionate about what happens within the city of Barrie. I think Jerry mentioned it at the beginning about how important municipal politics actually is, and how it is one of, to me anyways, the most important political positions. So I have no desire to continue on any further. No.
Could you be a bit more clear?
That's a no.
To Steve Sisolsky, please.
Same answer, definitely not. I plan to retire in Barrie. I want to live a great, prosperous life here in Barrie, and I do not have any political aspirations past City Council. I don't want to move to Toronto, or I don't want to move to Ottawa. I'd be happy serving the people of Barrie.
Thank you. To Anne-Marie Cole.
No aspirations. For me, it's about residents for residents, and I think municipal would be a privilege to actually be serving community, and that's about the end of where I'm hoping to take it.
Short but sweet as well. Ram Fairwood, please.
No, I don't. Thanks.
You guys are too easy. To Kelly Patterson, regards.
Nope. That's, no. Hazel McCallion is my hero, so if I could stick around municipal politics as long as she can, boy oh boy, that would be pretty awesome. So absolutely not. I'm here to stay.
Next to Jerry Marshall, please.
No, we moved to the city of Barrie to be closer to our grandkids, so being in Ottawa or downtown Toronto every day doesn't quite cut that cloth. Having said that, though, if I am elected, I would like to get onto the board of, let's say, the Associations of Municipality of Ontario's or Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I think it's important for politicians, municipal politicians in the city of Barrie, to make sure that we explore beyond our own boundaries. Those associations make a big difference in what happens in our municipalities. They handle the broader questions, some of the policy issues with the federal and provincial governments, so we need to make sure we're well placed on one of those boards. And certainly if I was running for council and I successfully voted me in, I'd certainly go into my peers asking for their permission to pursue that type of activity, because I think it adds tremendous value to the municipality to have your municipal politicians sitting on those boards that are meaningful. And from the county simple, I had one member of council on every meaningful board across Canada and across the province of Ontario. It makes a difference, and I'd certainly like to volunteer my name to my council peers to participate in one of those boards.
Someone actually took the whole time. And finally, Devin Scully, please.
Never say never. I'm young. I've got a long future ahead of me, and right now I don't see myself wanting to run for a higher office in the immediate future. Certainly not in this or the next term of council. But I'm not going to rule out what I might do in my 30s. Thank you.
We got everyone, right? Next question.
All right. In a time when the province is downloading work to the cities, how will you work with the province to make sure services we need are available?
And this one was beginning with Steve Jasowski, please.
Can you repeat the question again?
In a time when the province is downloading work to cities, how will you work with the province to make sure services we need are available?
The provincial budgets are sent down to the city budgets, and we pretty well have to live within the means of what we're given. I think the provincial budget, or the provincial money, has been greatly appreciated from a municipal level, and if that can still continue, that would be, more than happy to have to be presented at the municipal level. But I think we definitely need more funding in a lot of departments from the province.
Next to Anne Marie Congo, please.
I think there are definite pressures where we've seen reductions, everything from basic income to corrections to infrastructure dollars that create great pressures. I've worked at different levels of government, even locally. I participated in the pre-budget consultations as an advocate for the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario around what we need at a local level, respite care and other aspects. So for me, I think it's about having an effective voice and working across council and the Ontario Municipal Board and associations to look at how do we amplify our voice as representatives of residents at a municipal level that feel the impacts. And I think from there, looking at how to take nonpartisan approaches on certain issues so they realize how it touches individuals and how we live within our communities.
I was just reaching for the right one, but you beat it. To Tanya Sari, please.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a tough time. We've seen a lot in the last couple of years of offloading down to the municipalities, and it's been hard on us. And I know when I watched the budget being discussed, I will say, at council, it was tough for them, and it's hard to justify with the constituents in the city why we have to increase taxes and impact them. So I think, like Anne-Marie just said, I think it's important that we keep the conversations open with different levels of government. I think we still have to have that open communication with the provincial and the federal government both, to let them know what kind of impact that is having on us, because it's straining everybody. So I think that's part of the key component to that, is keeping the open communications going from the municipal level, but having those good relationships with your federal and provincial leaders as well.
Again, right at the switch to the red. Next to Devin Scully, please.
Downloading from other levels of government is not a new phenomenon. It's something that municipalities have been dealing with pretty well forever. And it's something that we have to be able to face, and sometimes that means making tough decisions and making sure that we're making smart allocation with our tax dollars to ensure that we are still getting the services that we need without compromising the bottom line or seeing those skyrocketing tax increases. Now, that being said, I do have a positive and friendly working relationship with provincial and federal members, both here in Barrie and outside across the province and country. And having those good relationships means that I can have that dialogue with members of our federal and provincial governments and talk about the issues that Barrie needs and actually be able to have our voice heard by those levels of government.
You guys all coordinate your time there. I was again just switching for the red card. Kelly Patterson McGrath, please.
Thank you. I think it's about collaboration, and yes, I think it's unprecedented, the amount of what our municipalities are responsible for now, especially when it comes to affordable housing. It's putting a lot of pressure on us, and that downloading from the provincial government is a real strain. So I think if we look effectively at collaborating with each other and other municipalities, and looking at how we can work together to assess what our needs are, and also to think about putting a little pressure where it's needed, so we can actually get some of that funding back. It's really important as we grow to be able to sustain that. The downloading has been really unprecedented in the last 10 to 15 years for our municipalities, and it's just too much strain.
To Jerry Marshall next, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think we need to, again, to my earlier comments about being on the right boards, you think about the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. They meet with the federal and provincial government on a monthly basis, talking about issues that are important to the municipalities. So you want to see that table. But the reality is that 9 cents every tax dollar collected comes back to municipalities. The rest of it stays with the federal and provincial government. So 9 cents of those tax dollars come back to us. So downloading is a real challenge for us, when we've got 67% of the infrastructure that we're accountable for and have to build, but we only get 10% of that tax revenue going into that level. So we make sure that we have to remind them of that conversation consistently. And I think the city of Barrie did the right thing to identify that here's what the provincial downloads cost us in this year's budget. And I think it's important to do that, because that's outside of the control of the city council. So there's a couple things that city council doesn't control. It's the county simple charges, it's education, and it's provincial downloads. So we want to make sure our citizens are educated on where those costs are coming from, so that you hold those people at the MPP and MP levels accountable for those type of actions.
To Ram Fairburn, please.
For me, when I get to that point, the circumstance will determine my approach. Sometimes municipalities use downloading as an excuse to raise taxes due to their mismanagement and inefficiencies. It just makes it harder and harder for taxpayers in Barrie with the mismanagement at City Hall. Thank you.
Our next question.
Do you have any suggestions to reduce household food insecurity in Ward 3 and or throughout Barrie communities?
Oh. Free for all. This starts with Anne Ray.
I really love the initiative that our public health unit has taken around, if you've seen it, I'm going to forget the tagline, but it's around not being able to afford food is senseless. And there's been some beautiful partnerships with the food bank. I was excited years ago to support them around fruit share program and the investment in our community gardens. I think if we look at that in an innovative way around what is a surplus that we're either not harvesting out of fruit trees, we can be providing our food banks actually fresh fruit and vegetables at no cost, and then looking at how to make it accessible. So I worked with Jeff around an Impact Collective group, and there were some great ideas at that table around how do we even have a food cart. So how do we also bring food and good food at low to no cost? So we do have the Good Food Basket. Sometimes it's hard to get to, and I volunteer with Urban Pantry. So I would encourage people to look at that, and if you've got a fruit tree, to register it. But I think there's several initiatives out there, and I think it's about getting that out, the communication about it, and opportunities to support reducing food waste.
Thank you. To Steve Sosowski.
I think there's a lot of initiatives out there right now helping the Barrie Food Bank. The Barrie Food Bank has never been busier. It's a big priority of, should be a big priority of people to help raise funds for the food bank. They're giving out more food, sometimes their shelves are empty. So more and more, like I said, more and more people have the demand for it. And I think they're doing a tremendous job at the food bank, and definitely as people on city council, we need to promote the help for the food bank as well, because it does save a lot of people.
To Kelly Patterson McGrath next, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I love community gardens. I love that idea. And they just created a new one at Sheer Park this year, which was very successful. It's such a great opportunity for people that the plot rental is like, I don't know, $20 a year, I think, for the plot. And it's really accessible, so people can, help eliminating our food insecurity. That's one way. Another way, we could work with our local grocery stores. They throw it a lot. We could work with our local grocery stores to capture that food waste and filter it back into our support systems, whether it's the local food bank, whether it's the Barrie Friendship Center, the Native Friendship Center. They also do a little food bank there as well. So we need to really think outside the box again here to help our food insecurity. Thank you.
To Devin Scully, please.
So to reiterate what's already sort of been said, that increased collaboration with the food bank, that goes a long way, and making sure that we're promoting our food bank outside of the holidays. I mean, right now, the food bank does really well at Thanksgiving, really well at Christmas, and outside of that, people tend to forget about it. So I'll sort of use this as a chance to soapbox. Make a donation. Make a donation now. Make a donation in the summer when you're not thinking about it. Think about it. And on top of that, things like community gardens and those sorts of things, they do go a long way. That collaboration is great for the city, and ultimately as well, just lowering the cost of living in general so that people aren't choosing between rent or groceries, or heating and groceries. Lower cost of living does lower food insecurity as well. Thank you.
To Ram Fairburn, please.
We have a problem, and instead of putting a band-aid solution to the problem, supporting the food bank, you can't go wrong. But what's causing the problem, and what's causing people to use the food bank as much as they do? The cost of living increase and a shortage of stable employment and affordable housing in the area, leading to a jump in the numbers at the food bank. So those are the issues we need to tackle, and we need to try and help people from not using the food bank as much, especially first-time users. Thank you.
To Tanya Sari next, please.
I feel like I'm just mimicking everything that everybody said here, because obviously the food bank is a huge contributor, so it's a great resource, as well as the community gardens, which we see popping up more frequently, and I believe there are more to come out within the new year. But I also wanted to recognize that there are people in this room who also take it upon themselves to do food drives. And so community support is also very, very important. And people who do community food drives should be recognized as well. And if everybody maybe thought to do that a little more frequently, it would be a lot helpful as well. And as Devin said, not just at Christmas and Thanksgiving, let's think about it during other times of the years as well.
And finishing with Jerry Marshall.
I think this is where I say ditto. Everything everybody said here, I think is all valid. There's no doubt about it. Some of the other things that we can maybe think about is maybe at the schools, making sure we support those breakfast and lunch programs at the schools. I know in town of Penetanguishene, when we had a Christmas party, we didn't charge our staff to attend, but there was a donation, and that went into the breakfast programs at the local schools. So making sure you get creative ways to fund those programs. As Ram said, one of the driving causes of people doing without food is the income level. So what can we do about those income levels, whether they're living wages or greater employment opportunities, whatever that may be? We need to research that as well. And we have a lot of great produce makers in the city of Barrie and the surrounding areas, but they don't have quality kitchens to cook out of, so they can't really sell their food because it's not properly in a certified kitchen. So let's look at getting those kitchens in the local schools or in other places during the evenings and weekends when people can come in a certified kitchen, get their product out to market to those residents that can use it at a better price. At the end of the day, bad food's cheap, good food's expensive. We need to change that.
You snuck over there. Not to worry. We have time for more. Yeah.
And then closing remarks.
Yeah.
Well, this may infringe on your closing remarks. However, it is a question, and here's time for your pitch. What motivated you to run for Ward 3 Council, and why should I vote for you?
I have to recycle my list. I didn't think we'd get so many questions in. This is wonderful. So we are going to go back to question number 1. You, Jerry, start again.
Start to finish. One of the things that brought me back to the table, of course, is my family's been here living in the city of Barrie for the past 20 years. And while I might look like a new resident of Barrie, I was actually coaching minor baseball in Lakeland Park the day after tornado hit. I coached there very close. I've been quite involved in the city of Barrie for a number of years. Beyond that, though, in the last 10 years, I've worked with the city of Barrie, their staff, and the mayor and other members of council on a lot of programs, and a lot of things, a lot of good work that happened here happened because of that relationship. So, you know, for me to sit down at that council table, my political experience, my governance experience will get me quickly up to speed on new items before council, but on existing items and items that have been around for a year or two, I'm already up to speed, probably been involved in those conversations to start with, and so I'd like to carry that on. And so, you know, at the end of the day, my grandkids are here, my family's here, my sons are here, you know, Barrie's where we're at, and so Barrie's certainly a spot that's attractive for me to engage in being part of the community, and I look forward to it.
Thank you. To Devin Scully next, please.
Thank you. I'm running because I care about my community. I've got a passion for service, I like helping, and at the end of the day, I think every one of us, we want to make the community a better place, and right now it's sort of like I said earlier, and we'll probably say again in my closing remark, Ward 3 is the envy of Barrie. Things right now in Ward 3, barring some challenges, are pretty good, and I don't want to see risky or expensive decision making lead to a backslide of the north end of Barrie. And right now, there's a lot of changes happening elsewhere in the city, and we need to make sure that the north end is still getting our fair share. Thank you.
To Anne Marie Kunkel next.
I ran in the 2018 municipal election because my heart and values were aligned. And it was about trying to take the work that I've been doing in health and public health and try and see it implemented into good policy. And I care about where I live. I love where I live. I've worked in Ward 3 for 6 years. My doctor, my pharmacist, my pub, my groomer is, you know, Ward 3 in the Northeast End is my Barrie. It is my community. And so for me, this is about stepping in and trying to make a difference. And I believe that hopefully my skills and qualifications will support me in being an effective, responsive, and committed voice for you.
Thank you. To Ram Fairler next, please.
I think I can make a huge difference on Barrie City Council. I'm out and about, and I have a lot to offer. Thank you.
Wonderful. To Stephen Shashowski, please.
I've always been interested in the politics of helping out the city of Barrie. It's been very interesting to me. I love Monday nights. Sometimes Monday nights are hockey night or basketball night. Sometimes I'm stuck to the city council meetings. So I do really enjoy the politics that goes on in the city. And I think with my time now that I have, before it was working or health conditions, now I do have the time to put into being a city councilman. So I really think I can, with my experience being on the different charities, I think I can really bring a lot to being a councilman. Thank you.
To Kelly Patterson.
Yeah, that's a good question, what motivated me to run. I'm a bit of an action person, so when I heard myself talking in my head to my husband relentlessly about some of the things that I see and some of the things that I want to change, I looked at this opportunity and I thought, okay, here I can actually step up and have a say, bring diversity to our council table as a woman, bring passion and compassion for my fellow Ward 3 community members, and really be able to help you and listen to you, actively listen to you, to hear what you have to say with your great ideas and your complaints, and get an opportunity to bring those to the table and take action for you.
That's the first time it's gone off for a while. And finally to Tanya, sorry.
I was prepared to be last this time because you know
Yeah, taking notes.
What motivated me to run for city council? I did run in 2018 in Ward 3 as well, against an incumbent, which I knew was going to be an uphill battle. But the reason I ran, most of them are sitting in this room, is the support from my family and friends. I'm super passionate about the city of Barrie. I love it here. I plan to retire here. I don't know if my husband wants to retire to our cottage in Blossom, but I'll be staying here. We've raised our 3 kids here for 15 years, and I happen to really like them as well. So I want them to come back. So I just want the opportunity to be on council to make that difference, to improve and maintain the beauty of this city, so my kids will return. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's it.
We got everyone. Okay. We are going to go through the list too, if you guys remember which order your second question was in. But we're going to invite everyone to give their closing remarks, a minute and a half each for these. If there is any topic that you are burning to speak about that we didn't cover, this is your chance to address it, or give us your impassioned speech of why Ward 3 should be voting for you. I have to say I'm not in Ward 3, which is sad because I've heard so many wonderful ideas here tonight already, but convince all of them. First up is Steve Siselski.
Once again, I would like to thank everyone for their interest in the Ward 3 by-election and showing up this evening. It's really appreciated. Our city that we live in has so much to give us and tremendous potential to be one of the best cities in Canada to live. I would love the opportunity to help make this happen. Like many of you, I plan to retire in Barrie. With my experience being on many executive boards and running my own company for 20 years, I know how the day-to-day operations of a business or a charity operates. Being involved in major decisions with the city is just like running a business. I would put the same knowledge and effort into being a city councillor. By addressing the main concerns in Ward 3 and in Barrie regards to taxes, traffic control, and climate change, and the opioid crisis, we can make Barrie a better, safer, and more prosperous place to live. So on February 13th to 24th, vote for integrity and vote for Stephen James Siselski. Thank you.
Thank you. To Jerry Marshall.
I thought it was deeper in the crowd. Again, thanks everybody for coming out, and thank you very much for setting up the opportunity for us to get together and speak tonight. I really enjoyed the conversations and enjoyed the questions that came towards us. Certainly, in my opinion, it was the city of Barrie, the #1 challenge facing us is growth. And with growth comes everything. Growth comes those with high-income families to low-income families, those who need a helping hand up in life to those who are healthy, and everything in between. So we need to look at our city over the next 10 and 15 and 20 years and have a plan that has a human services element to it that recognizes that as we grow, we don't just get the healthy and the wealthy, we get the whole environment of a population that exists here today and will simply get larger. So we need to recognize that and understand that and plan for that. When it comes to the nuts and bolts for Barrie, beyond that, the human side, human element side, is all our infrastructure. So where are the roads going? What do the arterial roads look like? What does transit look like? How are we getting to and from where we are and where we need to go. You know, what do we have today that needs to be improved to better service us tomorrow? Where do our facilities need to be to better service us tomorrow? So we need to be thinking through that conversation. Beyond that, we need to be thinking outside of our borders. So for instance, growth to the south of us definitely impacts the city of Barrie. Any activity growth you know, to the south of us, whether it's Vaughan, Richmond Hill, Innisfil, Bradford, will slow up traffic on Highway 400, 407, and 427. So we need to have a provincial input on those type of conversations. My political experience and background allows me to get to the table, to work with my fellow council members, to have those type of conversations and to plan properly. Thank you very much.
To Devin Scully next.
Thank you again to Engage Barrie, and thank you to everyone for coming out and listening to the candidates. With 8 people running, it can be hard to choose just one. I've been working hard every single day of this campaign to earn your trust, and I will work even harder every single day to keep it. I know how much work it takes to get things done, and I'm ready to do it. If you would like to get in touch, you can find me on social media. Send me an email to barrydevin@icloud.com, or of course give me a call at 705-984-2966. All of that information is on the flyers that you can get at the back of the room after the meeting concludes. If you do vote for me and send me to fight for you at City Hall, it doesn't matter if you had to sign up for someone else or you voted for someone else. I'm running to be a councillor for each and every person in this room and each and every person in Ward 3 and in the city at large, and I'm ready to go to bat for you. Thank you.
Thanks. To Tanya Sari next.
Back to me. I was going to go a little different approach and tell a little story. I've been out on the campaign trail since the end of November, and I've had a lot of great conversations with great residents. And one what struck me as kind of the drive behind why I do this. And I was on a street, and unfortunately I got into their house and stayed way longer than I should have. But in having that conversation with them, I learned that this particular family knew the name of every person on the street, from the top end of the street to the bottom of the end of the street. This particular family knew the names of those people. They knew what those people did. They knew those children's names, their children's names, how long they lived there for. And they knew the names of the people that lived behind them. This particular family went as far as to reach out for assistance when this family behind them ran into financial distress and aided them. And that just shows that's the community I want to be a part of. That's the community that I want to preserve. It's why I love living where we live in this beautiful community of Ward 3. And I mean, if I'm elected, I would hope that you would entrust me. I do everything that I do with honesty, integrity, and a strong work ethic. But more importantly, let's preserve those strong community relationships, and so we can remain a strong community. Thanks.
To Ram Fairburn next, please.
I have a different approach. Different is what we need at City Hall. On the list of the best places to live in Canada, our city is on the decline. In 2015, Barrie was 42nd, and now it is 154. Everything has increased. The city average apartment rental rate is among the highest in Canada. Because of the consistent cost of living increase, people have no money for life in general. Tax on home assessed at $500,000 in Barrie is $6,162, higher than Toronto, Ottawa, and 20 other cities. Property taxes have increased by about 3.4% annually on average since 2001. Elect me for your next Ward 3 councillor, and I will fight very hard to reverse the trend of an annual tax increase. I would propose a 2% property tax increase at the beginning of every municipal election cycle. Barrie food then hits an all-time high. We have seen record numbers due to job instability, housing, and cost of living increase. Hope is essential for our physical and mental health. Hope is the thing that gets us out of bed in the morning and give us the energy to keep trying even harder. To be hopeful is to look at the future and expecting good things to happen. I promise I will take a consistent principled stance on the issues that are affecting so many people every day. Vote Ram Fairburn for your next Barrie Ward 3 City Councillor, and I will not disappoint you. Thank you.
Anne Marie.
I really care about municipal service. I have some pretty high expectations. I'm getting involved because I think if I'm going to complain, I better have some skin in the game. And so for me, it's about stepping in to try and support a better Barrie and grow where we need to grow, and actually follow through on making really good decisions based on great information we have in front of us. And also leveraging community members. There's so many of you that are on committees, like Accessibility Committee, our Active Transportation and Sustainability Committee, our Arts Committee, our seniors. We need to amplify the voice and the work of those groups. We need to connect them, and we need to make sure that when people are coming to council and they are taking a brave step forward and making delegations, that they are heard and not judged, and that we are incorporating feedback into everything that we do. So for me, it's about valuing the voice, your voice, and I believe if you look at some of my qualifications, I think it will help to do that effectively. I have a good relationship with members of council, I would say. I also have a very direct relationship with other initiatives that have happened with our border councillors, so Keenan, Barrie, and Clare, wards 1, 2, and 4. I believe I will be effective around relationship building, about professional conduct, as well as making sure that we are asking the right questions and we are holding individuals accountable to their decisions.
Thank you. And we finish with Kelly Anderson.
I'd also like to thank Engage Barrie for hosting this event and for everybody coming out tonight. When I think about why I decided to run, I had this overwhelming feeling of humility and gratefulness that I have this opportunity to represent my community. I have this opportunity because we live here in Canada. I have this opportunity because we live in a democracy and we are free to make a decision to run in a municipal election and vote for who we want to represent us. I am grateful for this privilege, and it is a privilege, because of those who went to battle and made the ultimate sacrifices for us to do. If elected, it is my goal to listen actively and respond to your concerns and ideas, to represent our ward in the city transparently, collaboratively, and effectively. Ensuring we maintain our roads, look for ways to save taxpayers' money, caring for all of our citizens, our First Nations, our marginalized, our seniors, and our youth, and making sure we live in a safe and healthy city. I believe Barrie can be a leader in sustainable growth and climate action, affordable housing, and high-paying local jobs. This is your chance to have your say and choose who you want to help guide Barrie into the future, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
All right, you guys were so good about not clapping in between. Could we please have some applause? Again, I heard some fabulous ideas. I hope you guys did too. I hope this helps you make a decision, although it would make my decision harder. I heard so much interesting stuff tonight. I really want to thank Doug Adams and the Adams Funeral Home for donating this space. It's just invaluable to have this free space. And also, thank you so much. We thought we would have to be passing a single mic along. Stephen Michael had this all set up for us. And our moderators, when you ask people nicely, they say yes. Thank you for saying yes. And thank you so much to all of you for participating tonight. Don't forget to vote. Have a safe home.